Narcissists don't apologize. Like, I don't understand. Like, everybody says narcissists don't apologize. I don't see them apologizing. They never say sorry. But then I don't understand because mine did. Sometimes people have that question because they're confused of like what's actually happening in the relationship because they see everywhere in social media narcissists never apologize. They never say sorry. And they're like, but mine did. Like a lot of the other characteristics match up, but like they actually did say they were sorry. They actually did apologize. Like, what's going on with that? And sometimes people start to question, they start to question all the other attributes that they've been noticing, all the other products and byproducts of that relationship, being like, well, maybe they weren't narcissistic because I actually did apologize. So the thing you have to understand is like narcissism has 9 different traits to it, and they exemplify a lot of times in various different ways. At the core, they're all the same. At the core, a lot of those same traits are always hit in every narcissist out there. But a lot of times they will morph and bend and be different depending on what type of narcissist or how they exemplify those traits on a day-to-day basis. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. If you don't follow on the other platforms, look us up on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Just look up Raw Motivations, click follow. If you're listening to the podcast, thanks so much. Like, rate, review, share. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also on Amazon Music and a few other places out there under Raw Motivations as well. If you haven't had a chance to look at the NARC app, we've got a whole aspect on there to be able to learn different courses, to be able to understand, to be able to get accountability, to really get advice from other people. Because there's a lot of people in there that are helping other people heal, grow, and change and supporting each other through that process. You get new releases that come out, new exciting things that actually happen inside there before anybody else hears about it, including the weekly lives that go every single week, and then also monthly coaching where we bring in coaches from all across the globe to be able to help you in your healing, in your growth, and changing on a day-to-day basis. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, would love to be able to interact with you, just go to rawmotivations.com. Would love to be able to interact with you there. Last thing I'll say real quick, because I just got my copy the other day, so if you haven't had a chance to be able to pick up your copy, we just released From Fantasy to Reality, okay? It is a journal for after the toxic relationship. What it's got is it's got over 100 questions in here to start thinking through and processing the relationship to try to get clarity from the confusion. You can get it in any of the links in our bios. You can go to Amazon, just look up From Fantasy to Reality by Ben Taylor, and it'll be up there. Check it out. Anyways, what about the narcissist that apologizes? Like, wait a second, this doesn't match up. This doesn't make sense compared to the regular narcissist. Like, this isn't typical. Well, yeah, it typically doesn't happen. We typically don't see the grandiose, the overt narcissist to people like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, they normally don't apologize. They normally don't come out and say it, because if they did, they'd have to admit what's actually real, what's actually happening. Typically, the ego and the pride and the arrogance doesn't let them actually admit that they're sorry. For me, this was a huge aspect of my life that I didn't want to admit, that I didn't want to own up to, the aspect of actually saying the words, I am sorry. Literally, it felt like I was tongue-tied whenever it would come out. Well, I mean, it really didn't. You know, it would almost be like, I'm like, I couldn't say it. I literally couldn't say it. Like, you can ask my wife, like, I literally could not say it. It was something that it would be so polar opposite, like almost like betraying myself, because it would bring out guilt. It would bring out shame. You see, for a narcissist, an apology is a sign of weakness. For a narcissist, an apology is a sign of weakness, because when they see you apologize, when they see themselves apologize, what it shows for themselves is it shows, I was wrong. And to actually have that happen, where a narcissist would admit that something they have done was wrong and was bad, takes them down to the core of themselves, of the guilt and the shame that's running rampant in their lives that they're unwilling to acknowledge and they're unwilling to deal with. You see, a lot of times you'll see this exemplified with how a narcissist shows empathy. You're like, wait a second, they don't show empathy. Exactly. The reason why a lot of narcissists don't show empathy is not because they don't have it, but because they're unwilling to acknowledge that your feelings are valid. If I acknowledge that your feelings are valid because you're crying because I just made you upset, if I go over there and give you a hug and tell you that I'm sorry, if I acknowledge that that's happening, that means that your feelings are valid. If your feelings are valid, then that means the reason why you're upset, the reason why you're crying is valid as well. If your feelings are valid, if the reason why is valid, then that ultimately means it comes back that the reason why your feelings are valid and what is going on is valid, it's because I did something wrong. And the narcissist doesn't like to say that or admit that. It feels a whole lot easier for a narcissist to look at you and gaslight you and say that you're ridiculous or stupid or walk away from you when you're crying than it does to admit, I was wrong. So a lot of times you won't see an apology because the narcissist wants to avoid it. They want to avoid the shame that's inside. But you're like, but still, like my narcissist, they actually apologized. They actually said they're sorry. Did they really? A lot of times you will see covert narcissists, vulnerable narcissists, narcissists that slide underneath the surface, that a lot of times are in relationships longer, that kind of hide. You'll see covert narcissists actually leverage an apology for manipulation. Someone said, like, mine does apologize. Like, I actually do see them apologize. They do say they're sorry. Well, do you see changed behavior? Is there actually something demonstrating that follows through with that apology to show you that that apology was real? You see, a lot of times a narcissist will use an apology and will use the words, I'm sorry, to be able to fake it. Okay, so with an apology with a narcissist, a lot of times what you do see is, hey, this is our fault. This is something that we struggle with. Like, we need to work on our communication. Like, maybe if we got into counseling together, we'd be able to fix our abusive nature. Maybe we'd be able to fix, like, how we yell at each other or how we don't connect the right way. And the list goes on and on. But it becomes our fault. Not theirs, but our. For a narcissist agreeing to have our fault, you think you're taking 50-50 of it. The narcissist is like, ha, you're taking all of it. I just have you convinced of that. They're twisting it in their mind. So with apologies with a narcissist, what you do see, you'll see, hey, it's our fault. Or you'll see, sorry, but you made me do it. You know, sorry, like, I shouldn't have cheated on you, but if you would actually have been better in bed, then I probably would have. Like, I wouldn't have cheated on you, but if you would have respected me better, then I probably would have felt love to actually, like, stay with you. Like, I'm sorry, I wouldn't have lied to you, but, you know, you didn't make me feel safe to actually be able to tell the truth. So I decided I would do this. Like, I'm sorry, but there's always something there that doesn't let the apology actually sit. It's the idea of you'll have an apology and you walk away from me like, it started to feel good, but then, like, I left feeling like I still messed up. Sometimes you'll see, like, I'm sorry that you felt that way. I'm sorry that that's what you're experiencing. I'm sorry that that's on you. And it's oftentimes it's done in a way that kind of like pushes you down of like, you know, I'm sorry that that's your screwed up perspective. That's really kind of like the thing that's there. But like, I'm better. A lot of times what you do see with a narcissist with an apology is it being very vague. Sorry for what I did. Sorry for that I hurt you. But it's not specific of like what actually happened. Sometimes because they don't know, because they're pushing it out of their mind. Sometimes because they don't care. A lot of times because they don't care. A lot of times because like they don't want to actually approach the problem and get specific about this is what I did and I'm actually sorry for what I did. With a narcissist, a lot of times what you'll also see is you'll see an apology without ownership of it not being specific to them. And so as a result, I'm going to push it away. As a result, I'm going to say like, that is something that happened. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But not I was wrong. Not this is what I did and this is what I need to fix. A lot of times with narcissists, you'll also see apologies, and what you will see is an apology with a distraction. Saying that they're sorry, then future faking, then love bombing, then gaslighting you. They'll distort your reality. They'll distract you from what's actually going on. And that apology never comes to fruition in its fullness. A lot of times with the narcissist and apologies, what you don't see is you don't see specific accountability. Specific accountability of this is what I did to hurt you. You don't see like them actually like quantifying and them adding on to it. Okay, them actually like owning up and saying like this is what happened. And then not giving like the rest. Not changing it, not continuing on of like, no, like this is just it. What you don't see is them asking for forgiveness. What you don't see is them owning up to it themselves. And the other thing, typically with a narcissist, with an apology, what you don't see is actually change behavior. Because you need to understand, at the end of the day, when you're holding on to an apology, you're like, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to continue being with this person because they keep apologizing, because they're actually working on it. They're actually trying. What you need to look is, you need to look at the actions, and you need to look at how they demonstrate their change on a day-to-day, on a consistent basis. Because for a narcissist, an apology without change behavior is just manipulation.